Thanks for checking out my video. If you want to learn more from me, I have a lot of classes on Udemy. You can find the links to a lot of those in the description.
All right, so we are here to talk about the alchemical wisdom of the Hermit. So, if you guys haven't been on this channel before and this is the first time you're seeing me, then hi. I'm Dr. Nicolette. I have a doctorate in metaphysics. I am a spiritual seeker. I've written a bunch of different books on metaphysics, magic, and also 2 novels. The latest of which is right here, A War of Voices. It's like It, Stranger Things, and Words on Bathroom Walls in a blender. Main character has schizophrenia, tries to treat it in a non-normal way, and supernatural things happen. Check the link down in the description. It's the first link down there. It says my new novel in all caps, I believe. But give it a read. Anyways, we're here to talk about the wisdom of the hermit. And what I mean by that is we're going to pull from a couple of different sources, mainly 2, and then all the different stuff that my brain has scrambled together. So first off, if we're talking about the Hermit, the first thing that might pop in your mind is the tarot card, the Hermit. And doing a quick Googling and whatever, because I didn't want to pull out the tiny little book that comes with a bunch of my different tarot decks, you can kind of get an idea just from, take like a couple seconds. What comes to your mind when you think Hermit? Somebody who lives alone somewhere, maybe in a cave or what have you, right? So the Hermit card symbolizes introspection, inner guidance, and solitude. It encourages self-reflection and seeking wisdom within ourselves to understand our paths and purposes better. So the Hermit is getting us to be away from people and to think for ourselves. And it's not only getting away from people, but away from distractions, away from other things. Distractions such as reading a brand new awesome book, or YouTube, or distractions like chores and stuff like that. Basically, you can embody the idea of the hermit by abandoning all these different distractions and up, work, home, TV, bed, talk to people, and answer phone calls, and check voicemails, and check emails, and all this other stuff. And really be in meditation. You can't exactly be a hermit, for lack of a better term. You can't go off and live in a cave, but if you can, I don't know how you're getting Wi-Fi over there. But think of it from a more symbolic and allegorical kind of thing, where you're getting away from distractions. Our brains are wonderful at being everything but a hermit. If you've ever tried to meditate and you think that meditation is just not thinking, you're going to understand, or you're going to have a bad time. You're going to understand that it doesn't work like that, does it? Your brain will constantly come up with different things because it needs to fill the awareness with stuff. It's like when there's negative sound rooms that absorb sound waves, so it's literally at a negative decibel range. Your brain will start cooking up hallucinations of sounds because your brain's like, there's nothing here and I gotta make something up to fill the hole. Help. And then you're hallucinating. I think the longest someone's ever lasted in a room like that is like a half hour. Fascinating stuff. Anyways, so meditation is the same thing. You try to not think and then what's gonna happen. Your brain's gonna think anyway. That's why meditating is really good when you're focusing on an object or a thought or you're breathing or what have you. And doing this will train your mind to slow down so then you can actually listen to that inner voice rather than all the influences and the reactions and the anxieties and other things that will come up when you're trying to deal with everyday situations, And let me know if this resonates with you guys down in the comments, but this is, I've had, I guess you could say, a lot of really great experiences with the hermit vibe. Or, totally sound hippie when I'm saying this, but hermit energy. Because I myself am an introvert. I'm going to get more into the introverted side of the hermit stuff in a bit. But when you're alone and you don't distract yourself with watching movies, reading books, doing homework, doing chores, and you give your mind space to think, what comes up for you? Is it thoughts about the future? Is it anxieties? Is it stuff about the past? What kinds of things come up into your awareness when you are doing something, or when you are trying to just get quiet and get into that receptive mental space, right? Putting my phone on silent just in case. What comes up for you? This is that inner voice of yours talking, trying to give you ideas and thoughts about, this is the stuff that's in my basement, in the closet that I need to work on. If you are undistracted, some people even use distractions to run away from pain and stuff like that, where we can be outwardly focused all day, but there's stuff that's inside of us that is from our past that we have never dealt with. And really getting in touch with the self by being a hermit in meditation and introspection and setting aside time to journal and stuff where you are just by yourself, hence the hermit, you can really get in touch with what needs to be done, what questions you need to ask yourself, what kinds of things are coming up for you to alchemize, for you to change, for you to address, for you to heal. And I had plenty of those kinds of things where when I would be alone, and I would always make a special undistracted spiritual time. I'd only have like lo-fi or chill step music going because there's no words to distract, but doing something physically distracting, at least for me, this kind of works when I would do my Iaido practice, then the inner voice would start to come up and tell me the different things I needed to address. So then I would do, an inner dialogue, or I would journal, or I'd even record myself just having, stream of consciousness thoughts and journaling and things like that, that brings up, hey, these things from your past are not entirely dealt with right now. So we need to address those kinds of things. Know what I mean? So as far as the hermit goes, this is the kind of vibe that you want to get into, and the practices you can get into in order to embody the hermit energy. And then you will come to understand that there are things that will come up for you that you need to address. For example, in the let me see if I can pull my notes here. In the story of Percival, let me see if I can actually find it again, because it just decided to jump here. At one point in his story, so Percival goes on search for the Grail, right? And it's said that he's told at one point that when you get to the Grail, you have to ask a certain question, and then the Grail's bounty will reveal itself. Otherwise, it doesn't work, right? But he ends up not asking that question because he thinks about how his mom told him that, when he goes someplace and he's in important situations, to not ask a lot of questions. But he was supposed to ask the question, who does the Grail serve? He doesn't end up asking it, so he screws the pooch, for lack of a better term. And then the Grail does not give its bounty, it doesn't heal the Fisher King, and it just doesn't work the way it's supposed to. And then he leaves the Grail castle, and the drawbridge shuts, and he can't find the castle again. He then makes it his quest later on to find that castle again, but he can't remember how to find it, and it's totally unsuccessful. So he failed, and he has this nagging wound in him of the failure. And at one point, he encounters a hermit. And he spends 20 years on his adventures growing away from his life partner and loses his hope and zeal. In his middle age, it's when he's thinking about the meaning of life and the different things that, he's basically having a midlife crisis about, oh man, this is something that I really should have done. So it's nagging him. And at one point he meets a hermit. The hermit is the introvert inside us that stores energy just until the right moment. And extroversion is our first half of life. When we're out in the world, we're learning things and we're taking a bunch of energy in, and we're coming to understand who we are in relation to other people. And, we have to be out there in order to learn about ourselves and kind of build who we are. And then the second half of life is when you're more introverted because being an adult sucks and you go to work and then all you want to do is just chill on your couch and eat pizza. But that's when the second half of life with introversion is how you're able to reflect on everything and then grow. Because one of my greatest mentors who passed away last year said that the beginning of your life, the world screws you up. And then the second half of your life, it's your job to fix all that screw up stuff. So when you're an extrovert and you're being interacted with by the world screws you up. And then when you reach this introverted stage, you have to integrate all that, change it, and decide, am I going to let me drown in it, or am I going to, carry on from it and transform from it? Back to the notes. So natural introverts don't have a lot of victories or encouragement because we're so in our own world, but they should be storing that energy for the right moment. And when that moment comes, they must act on it. So when Percival meets the Hermit badgers the hell out of him with his failures, saying, you didn't do this right, you didn't do that right, you didn't ask the right questions, so the Grail didn't do what it's supposed to do. And why? So the Hermit's basically telling him, this is where you screwed up. And this is what you should do about it. Like I've been saying, when you are alone and stuff comes up for you, you have to address it. Don't stamp it down. Because that inner voice and stuff can also be guiding wisdom that's telling you to go pursue a new job, to make a big life change, to write that book you've always wanted to write, for example. And then the Hermit says, here's where you screwed up. Why did you do that? Be better. And try again. And he's like, but how do I get back to the Grail Castle? Because I can't find it. And the Hermit's like, cross the road, take a left. It's over there. So he does, and the Grail Castle shows up. Then the story ends. It leaves it open-ended to the idea of what happens next. That's up to the reader. Do you hope that Percival actually goes in there, says the right thing, and then the Grail activates, comes to life, shares its bounty, heals the Fisher King, and everyone's happy? Hope so, right? It's almost like the end of The Dark Tower, which I won't spoil for you, but if you haven't read The Dark Tower by Stephen King, read all 7 books and the accompanying short stories. You won't regret it. Anyway, the Hermit, which is the interior, that one that hides in us, in our inner cave in our mind, ooh, good one, can be your greatest teacher. So you gotta give time to meet with that inner Hermit. If you are so focused on the outside world with, oh man, I gotta go to work in a while, I want to clean this stuff, maybe I should sit down and read and like play video games, I got some books to read, I'm gonna scroll on some social media. You're in the outside world, you're extroverting, when you should go and introvert into that cave in your mind, meet that Hermit, and he's going to tell you what you're screwing up on and what you should do next, and even, like he told Percival how to find the Grail Castle, where you need to go next. All right, so that was a little bit of an alchemical discussion on using a story about growth, change, and personal development. And if you don't think that Magick has anything to do with personal development, you're going to have a bad time. Hopefully you like this one. Let me know what you think about it down in the comments. Let me know if you can relate to this kind of thing in any way. Let me know if you consider yourself to be a hermit or not, or if you've ever spoken to that inner hermit. Remember, meditation, undistracted, and journaling, and journeying, and self-questioning, and all that good stuff gets you in touch with that inner voice, with that inner hermit. So that's your homework. Anyways, let me know what you think about this one. Drop a like if you liked it. Check out all the other videos that I have on this channel for further magical and spiritual knowledge. Subscribe if you haven't. And I will see you guys next time. Good hunting.